Story 1. King's Quest, really every Sierra game. Original Civilization. F-19 Stealth Fighter / F-117 Nighthawk. Day of the Tentacle. Most Lucasfilm games of that era were good, but Day of the Tentacle is probably the best of the adventure games. Fallout 1 and 2. Pools of Radiance, Curse of the Azure Bonds, Death Knights of Krynn. X-Wing TIE Fighter. Online Bulletin Board System. Barren Realms Elite, Trade Wars. Story 2. Some early games I played. 1. The Commander Keen series. 2. Early Blizzard games, Warcraft 2, Diablo, StarCraft. 3. Jazz Jackrabbit 2. 4. Duke Nukem 3D for the humor. 5. Command and Conquer, Red Alert. 6. Fallout series. I was young in the 1990s, so I appreciated the variety and was mainly influenced by immersive and fun gameplay. Original Fallout has incredible storytelling, Commander Keen has awesome world building and platforming, Warcraft 2 and StarCraft were cool and challenging, Diablo was creepy and fun, Duke Nukem was humorous. An honorable mention to Tomb Raider for its appeal. Story 3. For me, I remember how in the 90s, I would be called a nerd for simply owning a computer. But my sisters and I loved 1. Humongous games. A backyard baseball and backyard basketball. B. Putt-Putt, Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish and Spy Fox. 2. Prince of Persia. Anyone remember that one? We were obsessed. My twin sister and I would perch on our big sister's wheelchair and play the game all day. 3. I don't know if anyone here would even know about this, but Girl Talk was also a favorite of ours and the Rocket games. Because someone reminded me, for we absolutely loved Roller Coaster Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon. But I, personally, was absolutely obsessed with Oregon Trail. Story 4. Prince of Persia, the original one. Lemmings, Lemmings 2. Later, also the Jazz Jackrabbit games, Age of Empires, Worms 2. I had a Sega on which Sonic Spinball and Marco's Magic Football were my favorites. That's what I played when I was my younger self, also known as a kid. Story 5. DOS and Windows 3.1 era. Settlers 1 and 2. Stunts 4D Sports Driving Great Track Editor. Commander Keen 4. Cannon Fodder 1 and 2. Warcraft 1. Master of Magic. DOS and Windows 95-98. Warcraft 2. MechWarrior 2. Diablo 1 and Hellfire. Screamer. Age of Empires 1 and Expansion. StarCraft. Unreal. Unreal Tournament. Quake 3. Story 6. First ones I can remember. Zork. Gato. Test Drive. Leisure Suit Larry. King's Quest. My friend's dad had a job that gave him a top-of-the-line computer, for that time, to use at home. 99% of its actual use was for gaming. Story 7. Theme Park and Theme Park World. Theme Hospital, Roller Coaster Tycoon, SimCity 2000, The Sims, Age of Empires 1 and 2, Command and Conquer Red Alert 2, Settlers 3, Black and White, Fun School 5 in Time, Planetary Taxi, Microsoft Encarta Mine Maze, Rescue Rover, Chips Challenge, Lemmings, Jewel Thief, Comet Busters, Sherlock the Game of Logic, Plane Crazy, Interstate 76 Nitro Riders, Tonka Construction, Lego Chess. Story 8. Original Wolfenstein, Original Warcraft, and I remember one about a rabbit shooter game but can't remember the name. You were this badass rabbit that needed to save his girlfriend, wife, or princess. It was like a techno version of Super Mario Bros. And Sonic combined. Jazz Jackrabbit was the name. Story 9. Spent countless hours on Minesweeper pretending I was some kind of bomb disposal expert. Never actually learned the proper strategy. Just clicked randomly and hoped for the best. Still got weirdly excited whenever I would clear the board by pure luck. Story 10. I really liked the learning games. Treasure Math Storm, Zoombinis, and Jumpstart. Specifically grade 2 and 3. I would also play The Sims, but that was in 2000, so a little late. Oh, I can't forget about Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo. Story 11. First, personal computer was a Commodore 128 that would dual boot to Commodore 64. My favorite game on that was called Silkworm, a side-scrolling two-player co-op with a jeep and helicopter. I believe it got a later release as Silkworm 4 on Amiga. Another one was Load Runner, which we had on a cartridge. So yes, I am definitely an old gamer. Story 12. Why are computer games in air quotes? It makes it sound like there were no computer games in the 90s, and we were all just running around making dial-up modem noises while wearing strainers as hats. Story 13. Hunt the Wumpus. In 8th grade on the school's only computer, a Commodore PET. By the time I was a senior, the school had a dozen Apple IIe computers in a computer lab, and we would type code printed in the Beagle Boys ads in Apple magazine for fun. Story 14. Basically, I only had a Windows 3.0 computer at the time, or one of the 3.x computers. The only games I could play were inexpensive floppy disk games I found at warehouse stores. We had Castle of the Winds Part 1, Capture the Flag, Boom Boom, I think it was called that, a game where two cannons try to fire at each other, Wheel of Fortune, a burger game that I cannot remember the name of, but you assemble it piece by piece. It was not Burger Time. Hangman, but I usually just played with Microsoft Paint and Solitaire for hours. At other people's houses, I played a lot of stuff like The Magic School Bus, Space and Dinosaurs, Pajama Sam 2, Clue Finder's 3rd Grade Adventures, Word Rescue, Treasure Mountain, Story 15. I was a big 1990s Mac gamer. I'll try not to repeat what others have already mentioned. 4x4 Evolution, Action Strategy Baseball, Al Unser Jr. Arcade Racing, Ali 19 Bowling, Alone in the Dark, American McGee's Alice, Bloodsuckers, Brickles, Classic Tennis, Clive Barker's Undying, Continuum, Cosmic Osmo, Crystal Quest, Cyber War, Descent, Diablo, Dirt Bike, Driver, Dungeon Siege, Escape Velocity by Ambrosia Software, Fallout, Flashback, The Quest for Identity, Full Throttle, Future Cop, Los Angeles Police Department, Gadget, Invention, Travel, and Adventure by Synergy Interactive, Gang Wars by Door Brothers Software, Glider version 2.02, Glypha, Goofy Golf Deluxe, Hoyle Casino 4, Jump Raven, Kickoff 2002, Killing Time by Logicware, King of Parking by Fantasoft, Lemmings, Let's Get Tanked, Lynx Professional by Access Software, Lunicus, Marathon, Mars Rising by Ambrosia Software, Max Payne, MDK by Playmates Interactive Entertainment, Monkey Shines by Fantasoft, Motorbike by Brad Quick, Myst, Myth 2, Soulblighter, Number Munchers by Minnesota Educational Computing Corporation, Oni, Oxid by Dongleware, Pararena version 2.0 by Cassidy and Green, Maxsoft, Pathways into Darkness by Bungie, Police Quest, Prime Target by Maxsoft, Quagmire by Celasoft, Real Pool by Maxsoft, Realms by Fantasoft, Sam and Max Hit the Road, Scarab of RA by Rick Holsgrave, Snood by David Dobson, Solarian 2 by Ben Holler, Space Invader by Hui Dong, Space Station Feta version 1.5 by T&T Software, Spectre by Peninsula Gameworks, Stronghold by Firefly Studios, Stuntcopter by Hometown Software, The Journeyman Project, The Oregon Trail 2, The Simpsons Cartoon Studio, Tomb Raider by Aspire, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Tropico, Unreal, Valkyrie by GameTech, Warcraft 2, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Wolfenstein 3D, Yoot Tower, Story 16, Command and Conquer, Rise of the Triad, Rebel Assault, Thief, Quake, TIE Fighter vs. X-Wing, Duke Nukem, Star Wars Dark Forces. Those are just the ones that were emblazoned in my head. But there are many more, I'm sure. I'll never forget playing the demo disc of Dark Forces and feeling like it was so cool I could actually shoot a stormtrooper, let alone shoot his blaster. Story 17. I loved King's Quest and Space Quest. I really think that they improved my reasoning and spelling skills, especially the early ones. Some of the puzzles were brutal. Story 18. I started gaming in the mid-1980s. Other than some Nintendo games, I played a lot on an Amiga 500. On the Amiga, I played Dungeon Master. It came from the Desert, Time Wars, and several others I can't remember the names of. As for the 1990s, I played a lot of PC games like Ultima 7 and 8, Doom, StarCraft, Diablo, X-Wing, Wing Commander, Eye of the Beholder, Dark Sun, Alone in the Dark, and Baldur's Gate. I also played console games on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Nintendo 64. Story 19, Oregon Trail. I died of dysentery a lot. SimCity, SimCity 2000. Blake Stone, Wolfenstein 3-dimensional, Doom. The first one I ever played, though I can't remember what it was called. Maybe fencing. It had graphics like stick people, and you could move left or right and have your sword up or pointing forward. You could always win by just keeping your sword forward until the opponent skewered itself, but this was not fun. Story 20. If we are talking specifically about computer games rather than video games in general, for me it was Dungeon Keeper, Age of Empires, Pharaoh, Zoambinis. Story 21. We spent many hours in the computer lab at the university playing Transport Tycoon and Doom. That would have been around 1992 to 1995. Before that, it was Atari and Commodore 64 games in the 1980s. Story 22. King's Quest series, Goblins, Monkey Island, Loom. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Prince of Persia. Space Quest, The Sims, Diablo, Ultima Online, EverQuest. Story 23. Pitfall, Hunchback, Older Dash, Jumpman, Commando, River Raid, Spy Hunter, Pirates, Maniac Mansion, King's Quest 1-4, Wizardry, Ultima, Wing Commander, Dune, Betrayal at Krondor, Wing Commander 2, Dune 2, Doom, Fallout, Baldur's Gate, Diablo, Planescape Torment. I've played more computer games before you were born than you've played in your lifetime so far, Sonny. I've been playing computer games since roughly 1984 to 1985. Story 24. Leisure Suit Larry, Police Quest, Space Quest, Zack McCracken, Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, Monkey Island. Basically all the classic Sierra and LucasArts adventure games. Story 25. Starting with Microsoft Disk Operating System and Windows 3.1 times. Wolfenstein 3D 1992, Lotus 3, Prince of Persia 1989, Volfeed, Atomic Bomberman, Age of Empires 2, Half-Life, and more gems that I have forgotten by now. Story 26. EverQuest, to date, is the most fun game I've come across. They have launched an old retro version of it with the first 5 expansions over at Project Quorum. There's also Project 1999, but Quorum is more suited for those with less playtime, which, as a working adult, I appreciate. Story 27. Ah man, this is my jam. I don't remember the official names for many of these, but I played a Muppets game on Microsoft Disk Operating System. I specifically remember throwing tomatoes at Fozzie. I found the title and a video of the gameplay. Turns out I was throwing tomatoes at ducks as Fozzie in Muppet Adventure Chaos at the Carnival. It features a creepy red-eyed Kermit on the title screen. There was this Little People bowling game featuring the Little People figurines that was either Microsoft Disk Operating System or Windows 3.1. Definitely Microsoft Disk Operating System. Treasure Cove on Windows 3.1 is a semi-educational platform game with trivia where you had to capture fish in bubbles. I played for years and finally completed the game in my teen years. Heretic on Windows 95/98. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was like Doom but with magic. I had the original Mortal Kombat on Windows 3.1 and 95 where you had to type in a specific word from the manual. It would give you a page number, a paragraph, and a word in order. There were a limited number of verification words and I memorized them eventually. Story 28. There was a computer pinball game I had that I can't remember the name of. What I remember, time travel was involved. When you got to a time, special missions could be started, trying to get these crystal fragments. There was a mission in the future where you had to hit the ramps to make your robot battle another robot. One in the present where you're digging in the tunnel in England to get the fragment and you have to outrun the tunnel flooding to get it. And I think there was an outrun the dinosaur mission in the past. I'm getting so detailed about it because I'd love to find it again. Story 29. Oregon Trail and Super Bunny on the 5.25 actual floppy disk. Pong and Brick Breaker on Atari. Any Nintendo Entertainment System game I could get my hands on. The 1980s were a decent time. Story 30. Gizmos and gadgets. Also, the Jumpstart games. Dad would get me whatever grade I was going into as an end-of-year treat. I remember the fourth grade Haunted Island the best for some reason. Backyard sports too, of course. Baseball, soccer, and football. Story 31. Never will forget 1997 or 1998. Can't remember. My uncle gave me some CD that had a free game he received in the mail. Genome, a mech warrior-style game. Story 32. I got a personal computer for my birthday when I was 13. Pentium 133, 16 megabytes of RAM, 600 megabytes hard drive. I got the dig along with it. I loved point and clicks mainly from LucasArts, being a Star Wars nerd. Grim Fandango is probably my favorite game ever. And of course, I played a lot of Star Wars games. My favorites were Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, Shadows of the Empire, Rogue Squadron, and Yoda Stories. Story 33. XCOM. UFO Defense, the predecessor to Enemy Unknown by about 20 years, plays almost identically. However, I still have a special place in my heart for the original game. Story 34. Lode Runner. Mad Monk's Revenge was our absolute favorite. Tomb Raider Zork, Nemesis, all the Magic School Bus games, especially exploring the solar system and the human body. Dark Forces Pharaoh. Story 35. The Magic School Bus explores the solar system. The Magic School Bus explores the human body. The Magic School Bus explores the ocean. The Magic School Bus explores inside the Earth. The Magic School Bus explores in the Age of Dinosaurs. Story 36. There was a game I used to play on my parents' old personal computer, maybe in the late 1990s or early 2000s, where you had a world and creatures you could take care of. You would hatch them and take care of them, feeding and playing, etc., and they made little noises in the different environments you had. Sometimes they could die, or monsters, I think, came out and would attack them or get rid of them. Am I going crazy? Story 37. Math Blaster. I played so much of that game on my school's computers. Come to think of it, this, as well as having a mother who taught mathematics, might explain why I studied mathematics in college. Story 38. Transport Tycoon, or UFO, Enemy Unknown, also known as XCOM, and the second part, Terror from the Deep. All of the above games aged incredibly well. Microprose knew what was up. Your typical Wolfenstein and ID Software games after that. Duke Nukem and Shadow Warrior were there too, as well as Redneck Rampage. Warcraft 1 and up, Command and Conquer / Red Alert, Dune 2. Alone in the Dark 2, Little Big Adventure, some Disney games like The Lion King and Aladdin, Prince of Persia, Another World, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat. Overall PC games of that time, countless that I don't remember. Story 39. Interstate 76. Warcraft 2. Simcopter, really all the sim games. Warzone 2100. Half-Life. Counter-Strike. Unreal Tournament. Quake. Diablo. Incredible Machine.